Welcome to Rewiring Health, the podcast designed to unlock the secrets of self-worth and healing your mind and body. Hello, I'm Dr. Kelly Kessler, physical therapist, transformation coach, and your host. I spent a whole lot of time and energy seeking out a sense of fulfillment through achievement and validation from others, only to feel exhausted, like it was never enough, and even worse, like I was never enough. The thing is, I didn't even know I was abandoning myself in the process of making sure I was meeting the needs of everyone and everything around me until it significantly impacted my health. Now I live life differently. I live with more peace, more joy, and more freedom in my mind and body. I've uncovered my self-worth, which has allowed me to live more authentically and in alignment with my true self. I see myself and my life through a whole new lens. Are you ready to stop abandoning yourself and begin living your life with more ease and purpose? Let's do this together. Now, I want you to consider this for a moment. You have a best friend, and they have been by your side your entire life. They have supported you, they've been there for you, and now you come to a point where they just gave you a call. You would think that you'd pick up the phone, right? Well, instead, you decide to ignore the phone call. So your best friend then tries calling you again. You again ignore the phone call. Now they've called you and they left a voicemail saying, hey, listen, I really want to talk. I want to tell you something. And what do? Ignore them again. So your best friend, really caring about you, tries again. They call you, they leave a voicemail, and now they're a little bit more forward about it. They're like, listen, you really need to call me back. I need to talk to you. I really want to tell you something that's really important. And what do? You ignore them again. And now they're calling a few times a day saying, like, just listen to me. And again, you continue to ignore them. And now they're calling you all hours of the day, trying to get your attention. And what do? You still ignore them. And now they come at your door. They're banging on your door, being like, listen to me. I need to tell you something. And you continue to ignore them until they kind of hit a breaking point where they are sick of being ignored. And now they're letting you know full out that they wanted to be heard. Sounds like a crazy situation, right? Like, why would you ignore someone who's been there for you your entire life? They've supported you. They've been there for you. Like, why would you honestly ignore that? It seems crazy when you put it in that scenario, but yet this is exactly what we do with our bodies. We ignore the signs. At first, they're small, just those little phone calls. Hey, listen to me. I got to tell you something. And maybe that's what you experience when you have little aches and pains. You feel a little bit of tension, you ignore it. And then they start leaving voicemails, letting you know you really need to talk. And now you're starting to feel a little bit more pain in your body, your stomach, your digestion's a little off, your sleep hasn't been that great, and yet you ignore it. And now they're really trying to get your attention. And now this is when you feel like your heart's pounding sometimes. You feel like your blood pressure is really high. Maybe you just got diagnosed with some chronic disease or an autoimmune disease, and your body is telling you that this is the time. There is no choice but to listen to me. And unfortunately, we wait until this point to actually listen to our bodies. We wait until we get a diagnosis. We wait until we are at a point where we have no other choice but to listen. And so I want to share this message with you because we need to start honoring our bodies and listen to the messages of them. And I want to share with you 5 ways that your body is communicating with you. And you may be just ignoring it or chalking it up to something else, or in the worst cases, normalizing it. I can't tell you how many people I've talked with where they say, isn't it normal? Doesn't everybody just have like neck pain and tension throughout their body when they hit 40? Like, isn't that just normal? No, not necessarily. Like, unfortunately, that is common because of the environment we live in today, in that we are constantly bombarded with stress and negative messages and lack of time and lack of commitment and lack of energy that we devote towards ourselves. but it doesn't mean that it's normal. Our bodies don't all of a sudden turn 40 and 50 and then just conk out on us. That doesn't need to be normal. There are ways that we can honor our body so that we can get to a place where we are in a better state with our body, a better relationship with our body. Now, it doesn't mean that things are going to be perfect. It's just like any relationship. You can have ups and downs. There can be challenges. By all means, it does not mean that you start listening and then your body's completely healthy. But I can tell you, by honoring your body and listening to those subtle signs early on, you will set yourself up for a better trajectory than if you continue to ignore it over and over and over and over and over again until it gets to the point that it's screaming. And that's why I want to share this message, because let's not get to the point where it's screaming at us. We do not need to get to a point where we start to feel like it's breaking down on us, where it starts to really let us know that we are not accepting this anymore. So I want you to gain this message of how can we honor our body? What are the subtle signs that our body is communicating with us? And how can we start to move forward with honoring our body, especially if you've been abandoning yourself for years or decades? And this is where the problem is that so many women will ignore themselves. They will put themselves on the back burner, or maybe not even on the burner at all. Maybe you relate to this. Do you ever feel like you can't sleep at night, you're exhausted, you have tension throughout your body, you're feeling pain, your digestion is off, maybe you feel bloated all the time, and yet you keep pushing yourself, you keep doing all the things, you keep showing up for everybody else, you keep saying, one day I'll take care of myself, one day I'll commit some time to myself. And this is for you. This is really, the message is for you, because that one day will become when your body is screaming at you. So I want you to listen while your body is just sending you voicemails right now. Listen while your body is giving you those subtle phone calls, just saying like, hey, we need to talk. So I want to share with you 5 ways your body is communicating with you and wants to be heard. And if you feel like any of these resonate with you, I want you to start to slow down and honor your body. And this can be challenging. I get it. When you are a go-getter, you are constantly going, even the thought of having to pause for a moment or take time for yourself can feel so uncomfortable, can feel so unproductive, can feel so invalidating and just gross, because it's something different. So I want this to be really just a message of awareness of yourself. What is your body telling you? And even just if you gain awareness that, yeah, I've experienced some of these. Okay, like I see that. If that's where you are today, that's good enough. And give yourself some grace. And I want you to just take the tiniest step forward of, if it's awareness of that, you're in a better place now than you were about 10 minutes ago. So take these messages with love and compassion for yourself, and maybe a nudge that you're getting that maybe you need to start doing things a little bit differently. Maybe you need to start pouring some energy into yourself. Maybe you need to start honoring what your body is telling you. So I want to share the 5 ways that your body is communicating with you. Number 1, chronic fatigue and low energy levels. Now, you may be hearing this and be like, oh, yeah, I'm exhausted all the time. Like, even if I'm sleeping, I wake up and I'm completely exhausted. Maybe you feel like you're just trying to get through the day. Like, you're relying on your morning coffee, you're relying on your evening coffee, you're just trying to get through the day, survive the day. If you feel like your energy just is depleted at all times, you feel like you never have this like vibrancy. It's just like, oh, okay, made it through another day. You head hits the pillow or you get on the couch and you're like, oh my gosh, I have nothing left to give. Now, I know there are days like that. Like, I get it. I am a mom of 2 very young boys. I'm growing a business. I get it. Like, there are some days that like I'm exhausted. But what I want you to recognize is this chronic? Is this every day or nearly every day that you're feeling like this? And if it is every day and nearly every day, this is a sign that you are overexerting yourself, that your body is telling you you need to slow down. We need to replenish. It's like your phone. If your phone was flashing red, you would know that you only have maybe a few more minutes to use it and then you need to recharge it. This is your body's sign that you're flashing red. You need to recharge it. If you want it to work at the full caliber, you need to recharge it. And that can look a lot of different ways. And I've shared this on different episodes. It goes too far into today, but just some ways you can honor yourself is even getting outside. That is a huge recharge. Taking 5 minutes to focus on your breath, huge recharge. It doesn't have to be this life overhaul. Honestly, some of the smallest things that I do and teach the people I work with are honestly the biggest bangs for the buck. So again, chronic fatigue, low energy levels is a sign your body needs to be honored. Number two, persistent aches and pains. So again, this is one of those things that we tend to normalize. Like, maybe you normalize it because you're in your 40s or 50s and you're like, well, I mean, doesn't everybody have these aches and pains? And isn't this just par for the course that with aging comes this? And yes and no. There are definitely some physiological changes that do occur with age. So I'm not discounting that. But whatever we have within our control and what we are able to honor within our bodies is what we need to focus on. So when we have persistent aches and pains, especially in areas like maybe your shoulders are always up by your ears and you just can't relax them. Another common place is the hips. So you tend to feel like you're forward or your hips can't fully elongate. We also often feel in our low back. That's another big place we carry a lot of tension. If you feel like you're forward and you're just like kind of rounded shoulders in that position, your head is forward. Again, these are the positions that we tend to get into. And what happens when we're in these positions for such a long time, we actually lose the awareness that we're not in a more neutral position. It becomes the new norm. So often this becomes a progressive positioning where we lose the awareness or the kinesthetic awareness of where our body is. So many people, you may have that rounded shoulder forward posturing and your mind is saying, yep, this is neutral because it becomes your new neutral, in that your mind has literally changed its properties and it's become accustomed to where your body is. So when we start to bring more awareness to our body, then we realize that, oh, my body truly is in a position that is contributing to a lot of the aches and pains that I'm experiencing. So when you're in a chronic stress state, one thing that happens within our body is that we have fascia. So fascia is connective tissue throughout our body, and it's highly connected with the nervous system. So when you're experiencing chronic stress, your nervous system is in a heightened state. It's telling you that you either need to run from a predator, fight a predator, or play dead. All these things increase the tension that you experience within your fascia. So what happens with fascia, it actually changes properties. So when you're in a relaxed state, it's very fluid. It moves very easily. It's actually thinner. And then, but when you're in a stress state, it actually becomes thicker, very taut, very, very difficult to move. And this is where our body actually gets into a state of feeling chronic tension. And when we're in this state for a long period of time, when we have a chronic stress state, this is where we start to experience more of that pain, more of those aches, more of that feeling like, "Oh, I just wish I could relax. I wish I could just let the tension in." And you yearn for some kind of release within your body. So again, another sign that your body is telling you that you need to honor it. Number three is digestive issues. So this is one that can look many different ways, but some common ways are bloating, constipation, frequent upset stomach, any change in your gut health. So if you feel like you're suddenly having this indigestion, you're feeling very nauseous, again, these are all signs that your body is telling you that you need to start honoring it. A big one, especially with bloating, is a sign that you have increased cortisol levels. So cortisol is a hormone that gets released when your body is also in a stress state. So again, stress playing a huge role here. But with chronically high cortisol levels, it causes inflammation throughout your body. And one sign of this is bloating. So you may notice a more bloated area, especially in your stomach. That's typically where people feel it. But again, that also plays a huge role in digestion when you are in a stress state. So when our digestion is optimal is when we're actually in a parasympathetic response. And what parasympathetic response of the nervous system is that rest, digest, restore. It's a very more relaxed state of the nervous system. Unfortunately, when we experience chronic stress, we're more in a sympathetic state. And what happens when we're in a sympathetic state chronically is that we never signal to the gut that it's time to digest. So often we can eat food and feel like we are not fully able to digest it, or we feel like sick to our stomach. That's why, when you have something that's stressful, maybe you get a text that you really didn't want to see, or an email you have to respond to, you can actually kind of feel sick in your stomach because your stomach is highly integrated with your nervous system. Number 4, the ways your body is trying to communicate with you is frequent illness and slow recovery. So again, when you're in a constant stress state, one repercussion of that is that your immune system depresses. So you are more likely to get sick. You're more likely to get colds, infections. Your healing will actually decrease in its time. So increase in time, but decrease in its ability to heal. So it will take longer to heal from things because of this decreased immune response. You'll also notice that you just will maybe feel more inflamed, like things just don't feel like they just feel off, and it's hard to explain, but if you've ever had that where you just feel like almost like a lower state of just like, oh, my body just feels, that again is part of that. You're not recovering as well. Maybe you got an injury and it's not getting better as quickly as you thought it would, or you're just constantly sick. You can't seem to kick it. Maybe you've had a cold that's lasted 4 to 6 weeks or even longer. Again, these are all signs that your body is telling you that you need to start to honor it more. It's giving you these signals. These are those phone calls, those voicemails from your best friend telling you need to honor it. Number 5 is emotional and mental health symptoms. So again, these are all interrelated. Our mind and our body are completely interrelated. So everything we're experiencing within our body will have a huge role in how our mind actually interprets it. So some signs of this is increased anxiety, depression. Maybe you're very irritable. Maybe you usually have more tolerance for your kids and you're just like snapping left and right. This all can be a sign that you're experiencing more of that chronic stress within your body and that you need to start to listen to what it's telling you. Some ways, again, that it presents itself as headaches. So if you are having more frequency of headaches, maybe your eyes just feel like they're fuzzy, you can't see well, maybe you can't think clearly, you're almost like in a fog, you have trouble like planning, you get overwhelmed very easily. So even just making plans for dinner can feel like, I can't even think, like this is way too much. You're more likely to feel overstimulated. So, you can't handle music in the background, people talking to you, the lights are bright. All this becomes almost like too much for your system to handle when you're already in a chronically stressed state. So again, these are all these signs that you can start to look for. So if you've noticed any of these in your life, start to pause, recognize it, come at yourself from a very compassionate, loving way so that you can now start to see that like, oh, my body is telling me something. I need to start listening. So just to reiterate, the signs and symptoms that you're looking for is 1, chronic fatigue and low energy levels, 2, persistent aches and pains, 3, digestive issues, 4, frequent illness or slow recovery, and 5, mental and emotional symptoms. So again, you have a best friend. Your best friend is your body. Your body is here and is truly just trying to communicate with you. It wants to help you. It is here to help you live a more vibrant, amazing life. But if you ignore it, it's going to only speak louder. And it's going to want to be heard so much that it is going to start yelling. And so if you are at any point where you notice these signs, these symptoms that your body is telling you, again, don't come at your body from an angry point of view. It's only trying to help you. And it can be really challenging, really challenging. I get it. When you have chronic pain, and I had chronic back pain for years. I understand it's very hard. And back then I did not have the mindset that I have now, but it's very hard when you have your body and you're experiencing all these symptoms to be, okay, I'm going to be very compassionate. But I truly, truly want you to understand that your body is just doing what it's supposed to be doing. It is playing out everything that is designed to. And its number one role for you is to protect you. And so when it is experiencing stress, it's experiencing everything from the environment, it only wants to protect you. And that is why it goes into a stress response, because if you are having a lion right in front of you, you either need to run, play dead, or fight it. Like those are the only things it can do. But the problem is that we don't, in most places, I don't know where you're listening from, most places that listen to this podcast, there isn't a lion in front of you. You don't have an actual predator in front of you. But what you do have in front of you is the news telling you everything that's going wrong in the world. What you do have in front of you is maybe a neighbor that's really getting on your nerves. What you do have in front of you is an email that you constantly need to respond to, projects at work that never seem to end, extra loads being put on you because people are getting laid off. What you do have in front of you is a screen that's telling you that you're not enough or you're less than the person that you're comparing yourself to on social media. That is what you have in front of you. That is your lion. And so as long as your system continues to experience all these things that are telling you you're not enough, you're not worthy enough, you need to become more, you need to seek something outside yourself, you will continue to have the stress response. And everything that you think in your mind, which again, 70% of our thoughts are negative, self-defeating, everything you think. So now if you have these negative thoughts, now we feel the emotional burden of that. And the emotions we tend to get stuck in is that grief, shame, guilt, fear, all these emotions that our body then experiences, gets embodied. And there are no good and bad emotions. All those emotions are meant to be experienced, meant to be felt. But the thing is that if we don't have a way to release it, and if we try to just suppress it, act like it's not happening, ignore it, or just numb it, even worse, by scrolling, maybe using substances, just trying to escape it all the time, then our body is going to harbor that. And that is when it is going to feel like it has been left behind. That is when it's going to feel ignored by you. That is when it's going to ramp up the communication that is trying to communicate with you through with phone calls, emails, texts. It's going to keep ramping it up until it's banging on your door saying, you need to start listening to this or I am going to erupt. Don't let yourself get to that point. Honor your best friend. Take care of your best friend. Listen to your best friend. It is only trying to tell you something. I hope this helps bring some awareness to yourself. I hope it helps to move you forward and just to realize that your body is always talking with you. Again, thank you so much for spending your precious time with me today. I'm so honored to have this platform to share this and share the guests that have been on here. Thank you so much. And if you found value in this, share it with a friend. Let someone know that you are listening to them, that you are then their best friend, that they can listen to you, and let them hear this episode. So hopefully more people can realize that their body is truly trying to help them. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Rewiring Health. I hope you found our conversation both enlightening and empowering. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to Rewiring Health so that you never miss an update. Also, I would love to hear your thoughts. If you could take a moment to rate and review the show, it would mean the world to me and help others discover the power that we all have within us to create change and create the life that we truly, truly desire. Thank you so much for spending your precious time with me and sharing the energy of the show.